I knew something was off the second I walked through my front door. After 2 weeks of sun-soaked beaches and fruity cocktails in Bali, coming home should have felt like slipping into a warm blanket. Instead, I froze in the entryway, staring at muddy footprints smeared across my spotless hardwood floors. Someone had been in my house. I dropped my suitcase and followed the trail through the living room, noticing my coffee table nudged about 6 inches out of place. Nothing looked stolen, but everything felt wrong in a way I couldn't immediately explain. Then I saw it. A yellow sticky note was stuck firmly to my refrigerator door. Routine inspection. No cause for concern. It was signed by Laura Bennett, HOA president, with a small smiley face scribbled beside her name. My stomach dropped. What kind of routine inspection involved someone just walking into my home while I was away? Before my trip, I had taken every precaution I could think of. I set light timers to flicker on and off randomly, paused my mail delivery, and even asked my neighbor Mike to keep an eye on the place. That's what you do when you live in a place like Willow Creek, a gated community with perfectly trimmed lawns and a homeowners association that enforce rules like a military regime. The HOA fees weren't cheap, but they were supposed to guarantee security and maintain property values. Never in a million years did I think the HOA president would be the one abusing that power. I called Mike immediately. "Hey, did you see anyone poking around my place while I was gone?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Not really," he replied after a pause. "But I didn't notice Laura's car parked out front a few days ago. I figured she was dropping off a newsletter or something. My security system had cameras at both the front and back doors." I opened the app with shaking fingers and started scrolling through the footage. And there she was, Laura Bennett, wearing her signature pastel blazer, approaching my front door at 2:17 p.m. last Tuesday. She looked around nervously before pulling out a key. My key. She unlocked my door and slipped inside. She stayed for nearly 40 minutes. The footage showed her walking to my living room, running her fingers along shelves like she was inspecting dust, flipping through a stack of unopened mail, and even peeking inside my refrigerator. She took notes on a clipboard, her expression calm and smug, like she was doing something completely normal. When she finally left, she wore the same self-satisfied smirk she always flashed at HOA meetings when shutting down someone's request over a minor rule violation. I was furious. I drove straight to Laura's house, easy to recognize with its perfectly trimmed hedges and a bold sign in the yard declaring her HOA president status like some kind of royal title. She opened the door with her usual polished smile, but it faltered the moment she saw my face. "Oh, you're back from vacation. How was it?" she said casually, acting as if she hadn't just been inside my home. "I didn't waste time. Why were you in my house, Laura?" She didn't even blink. "Oh, just a routine wellness check," she said, waving her hand like it was nothing. "We do them for residents who are away for a while. It's for your protection, really." Her tone made my skin crawl. Where in the HOA bylaws does it mention wellness checks entering people's homes? I asked sharply. Her smile tightened. "It's an unwritten policy. As president, I have discretion to ensure community standards are maintained." Something about her answer didn't sit right at all. I'm a lawyer. I had read the HOA agreement carefully before buying my house. There was nothing, absolutely nothing, allowing entry into private homes without permission except in real emergencies like fires or burst pipes. So I started digging. Over the next few days, I spoke with other homeowners in Willow Creek. What I discovered was disturbing. Several neighbors admitted they'd come home from trips to find things slightly out of place, but dismissed it as their own forgetfulness. Others had seen Laura moving around properties when owners were away, but were too intimidated to question her. Then Sarah, who lived a few houses down, finally spoke up. "She came into my place when I was in the hospital last year," she said, quietly, claimed she was checking for code violations. What was I supposed to do? She's threatened people for less. I gathered everything I could. Security footage, neighbor statements, a highlighted copy of the HOA bylaws proving no such policy existed, and records showing emergency keys were only meant for true crises. And then I found something worse. Laura had been using these so-called inspections to dig up dirt on homeowners she personally disliked. The day before the next HOA meeting, I filed a police report for breaking and entering and prepared my evidence. The community center was packed that evening. Laura sat at the head of the board table, gavel in hand, wearing a confident smile as she called the meeting to order. When new business began, I stood up. I'd like to address a serious issue regarding unauthorized entry into resident homes, I said calmly. Her head snapped toward me instantly. I connected my laptop to projector and played the footage. The room went completely silent. What everyone saw was their HOA president using an emergency key to enter my home without permission while I was away on vacation. This is a violation of both HOA bylaws and state law, I said. Laura's face turned red with rage. She slammed her gavel. This is out of order. These wellness checks protect our community. Then I played recorded statements from other neighbors who had experienced similar entries. The board members shifted uncomfortably. There is no wellness check provision in our bylaws, I said firmly. Emergency keys are only for fires, leaks, or true emergencies. At that moment, 2 police officers quietly stepped into the back of the room. Laura noticed them. She stood abruptly, her chair falling backward. This is outrageous, she snapped. I was protecting this community. Her voice rose as she tried to justify herself. People leave windows open. They violate rules. Someone has to maintain standards. Then she pointed directly at me, completely unraveling. And your mailbox was an inch too high last month. An officer stepped forward. Ms. Bennett, he said firmly, you need to come with us. You're under arrest for trespassing, unlawful entry, and abuse of authority. Her expression shifted from fury to disbelief as they read her rights. I'm the HOA president, she shouted as they escorted her out. Who's going to enforce the rules now? The room sat frozen as she was led away in handcuffs, still insisting she had only been doing her job. One board member finally spoke up. I think we need an emergency election, he said awkwardly. The motion passed unanimously. 3 months later, Laura's case went to court. The judge showed no sympathy for a claim that HOA authority outweighed property rights or privacy laws. She was sentenced to 18 months in prison for multiple counts of breaking and entering, along with additional charges from other homeowners who came forward afterward. She was also ordered to pay fines and restitution. When the sentence was read, her composure finally shattered. But who's going to enforce the rules? She cried as she was taken away.